On everyone. So this whole Dame trade thing is becoming a mess. It's not becoming a mess in the sense of like James Harden with the Sixers, where it's just all this media drama and it's all this drama behind the scenes, and Daryl Morey and James Harden are, taking shots at each other, and James Harden is out here telling the world that, Daryl Morey is a liar and all this stuff. Like, you don't have all of the chaos that is going on with the Sixers, but it's still getting a little ridiculous, right? So we got updates and we got reports that basically Portland is not talking to anybody. They're not having any engagements. This entire time, we've gotten countless reports that Portland is not negotiating in good faith, that there's no real communication with them, and that it doesn't seem like Portland really wants to trade Damian Lillard. And my thing is, why? What is the point, right? And the issue is that they know Damian Lillard is going to be a professional, and they know that Damian Lillard is going to play, and he's going to do everything the right way. Because Dame doesn't want to burn the bridges, doesn't want to be looked at in the lights of like how James Harden is and stuff like that right now. But this is why, to an extent, and look, I'm not defending the James Harden antics and even like some of the Kyrie thing. Like, I'm not defending any of these people that like just act this way. But you look at that and it doesn't look as bad when you see what Portland is doing to Damian Lillard. You act like a professional. You do everything the right way. You conduct yourself in a responsible, reasonable manner. You tell in confidence and everything. You do everything that you're supposed to do as a professional, and you get just screwed. But then you see guys like Ben Simmons and James Harden and all these guys throw these tantrums, try to sabotage the teams, do all this crazy stuff, leak stuff to the media, do all this nonsense, and then they end up getting traded, right? I mean, James Harden hasn't gotten traded yet, but he probably is, right? Because James Harden's going to keep pushing the narrative. I mean, he's already did it. He did it in Houston, right? Like Houston, there were talks about him wearing a fat suit in Houston, right? And so you see these guys that act a fool, and again, I don't agree with it, but they seem to get what they want, right? It's like when a kid throws a tantrum, like the parent gets sick of hearing the kid scream, so they just give him the lollipop or whatever, right? But the good kid that's just quiet and just says, okay, right? That kid doesn't get anything, right? Like that's basically what this is. And it doesn't make sense from a Portland standpoint, right? I get not wanting to just give Dame away, but you're not, right? Like, and you have a guy in Scoot Henderson who's now your cornerstone. You have a bunch of young talent and all of this stuff to start putting yourself in the proper position to start doing things correctly for the future. You failed with Damian Lillard. It sucks. Move on. Do what's right. Because all that's happening is Portland is getting a negative picture shined on them, a negative light shined on them, and they're looking terrible. Right? All the reports, even reports from Portland, even the Portland reporters and the Portland insiders and stuff have spoken negatively about how Portland is handling this. You don't like what they have with the Heat. You don't like whatever. You need to have communication. Tell them this is what we want. We're looking for X, Y, and Z. Go figure out and make it happen. Because now you put everything on the Heat, and if they don't figure it out, then that's on them rather than you. But the constant reports seem to be that Portland isn't even talking to people. Like, Miami doesn't know what they want. They don't even know what direction they should go because they don't know what Portland wants. That's not negotiating in good faith. And all you're doing is handcuffing Damian Lillard to a franchise that makes no sense to do so. You're painting a bad picture for your future. What star is going to look at this Damian Lillard situation and go, man, Portland is where I want to be? And look, Portland has never been a huge free agent destination, right? But it's also because Portland has never really been in a position to really be a true contender. They've always tied themselves up long-term to like mediocre players or guys that just they overpaid for guys, and just never really put the proper team together. Portland has an opportunity to do things the right way. They have a very good young core. They have a guy in Scoot Henderson that looks like he could end up being a top 5 guy in the league in a couple years. And if that's the case, you can build a team that now free agents go, wait a minute, that's where I think I want to go, right? Man, you got Scoot, You got Sharp, you got, Murray, you got whomever's at the center, but like, you got all these guys like, man, like they're, top 4 team in the Western Conference. All right. It's like, man, I'm the missing piece. That's what you want to do. You want to put yourself in a position to where, the future guy says, I'm the missing piece. I can help them win. Right? Like, that's what you want to do. But instead, all you're doing is painting this negative image of like, if you're a star and you do everything the right way, we're not going to give you what you want. And again, I'm not saying they have to, trade Dame for a first round pick and Tyler Hero. I get it. But what do you want Miami to do? What do you want these other teams to do? Dame is done his part, right? Other teams aren't negotiating for Dame. Like, Portland's waiting around for a team to come out of the woodworks. What team is going to come out of the woodworks? What team is going to trade for a 34-year-old, undersized, injury-prone point guard? Portland should have traded him a while ago, and they didn't. And now you're in a position to where the demand isn't there. How many teams are looking at Damian Lillard and going, man, he's the missing piece we need? Like, how many teams? And how many teams have the pieces, the assets that make sense to trade for Damian Lillard and still be that team that are like, okay, that's the missing piece we need? There's very few teams, if any, that could do that. And it's not like Miami has a bad young core. Like, they don't have a lot. They don't have anybody that looks like the next big thing, but you never know. Usually the guys that end up being that thing are the guys that no one expects. Look at Jokic. Look at, Giannis. Look at these guys. Like, they weren't top 3 picks. Like, that's usually the guy that like has the upside of potential that you work with and you develop, and he works hard and boom, he becomes that thing. But I'm saying you're also putting your team in a bad position if you're Portland. Because now the coaching staff, they need to start planning and putting things together to go into training camp. They need to know, like, what are we doing here? What is our roster looking like? Are we going to have 10 new guys, or are we going with Dame? Scoot Henderson sees Dame request a trade and wants out, and he thinks, okay, now this is my team. Let's go. Let's do this. They're telling him he's the franchise guy. You're it. You're the guy that's going to lead Portland one day to a championship, blah, 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 blah. And now he's looking and going, wait, so that's not what's happening, or at least right now, right? So you are going to keep Dame back here, and I'm not going to be the guy this year, and I'm going to have to defer to Dame. Rather than trading Dame, getting what you can, negotiate and talk in good faith, this is also ruining any potential just trades in the future, not even Dame related, right? Let's say there is a guy that makes sense, right? A role guy or something like that, and they want that guy. This is how you burn bridges and ruin relationships. Like, if I was a Portland fan, I'd be furious right now. Dame's done everything you asked of him. All Portland is doing is just making themselves look terrible at this point. Drawing it out. For what? You're not going to get this Kevin Durant blockbuster level package. You're not. If you can get 2 first-round picks and 3 quality young players that make sense, perfect. Or even if you take Tyler Hero, right, then now you can trade Hero, or you could trade Simons, or you could trade both, right? Like, they're tradable pieces. Or even if you don't like any of the young guys, like, take the young guys, unload Nurkic, right? Unload him. He's a guy that you sign long term. Make Miami take him. That has value in and of itself. And there you go. You unload long-term salary that's pointless. You go get, 3 or 4 young guys from Miami that all make sense and could be pieces. And then you could always trade and unload guys. Have Tyler Hero and Simons duke it out, and the winner ends up staying here, the loser ends up getting traded, right? Whatever you want to do, you go and get as many quality pieces as you can get. Like, Miami is probably going to give you the best, because Miami's desperate to get Dame. They will probably give you whatever you want that's not named Bam and Jimmy Butler. There's not many teams that are going to do, like, what team is going to say, take whatever you want outside? Like, Boston isn't going to be like, oh, well, yeah, you can have whatever you want outside of, like, Brown and Tatum, like, right? Like, because it doesn't make sense for them, right? Like, what team makes sense for Dame that also makes sense for that team, that also makes sense for Portland? Miami makes the most sense, right? Like, could some team come the trade deadline maybe go and say, all right, like, let's go, let's go make this push and go get Dame. He's the missing piece. Possibly. But again, what are they going to give up? Most teams are probably not going to give up. And there's more chance that by that time, by the trade deadline, Dame's injured again. And now you're getting nothing for him. Right? Like, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. It's illogical, in my opinion. Like, Portland is just burning every bridge that they can, and they're making them. Damian Lillard has been Mr. Blazer. Like, he's arguably the most loyal guy that Portland's ever had. And now you're trying to, now you're just basically just straining him on. If he was 26, 27, and, putting up the stats and the numbers that he was, then sure, I get it. I understand, hey, dude, we're not going to trade. Like, Brooklyn. But here's the thing about Brooklyn with Kevin Durant, because they're probably looking at this and going, well, Brooklyn kept Kevin Durant, but there was communication. Kevin Durant even talked about it. Kevin Durant came out and said, hey, they pulled me in and they said, hey, we're not just going to give you away. You're too valuable. You're too good. Why would you want to be traded for a bag of peanuts? Right? So until we find a deal, we need you to buy it. There was communication on all fronts. Right? And Brooklyn was an absolute disaster last year. But there was still communication. There was communication with the other teams, right? They told Phoenix what they wanted. Phoenix at first didn't want to do it. And then they got a new owner and said, who cares? Go trade everybody. But that's too much. I don't care. Do it. Go get Kevin Durant. And they went and got Kevin Durant, right? But teams thought it was too much. And you know what? They finally got what they wanted. Kevin Durant is not Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is not Kevin Durant. You're not getting anywhere close to what you'd get for Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is, arguably one of, the top, 15 greatest players ever. He's won championships. He's a guy that could completely change your team. Right? The guy is, yes, he's older too, but his impact is still ridiculous. Right? There's a big difference between Kevin Durant and Damian Lillard, who, again, I love Dame, but he's an undersized guard who can't defend, who's a liability, who is injury prone and is only getting older, right? You're not going to get this world beater package. It just doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, again, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments.